Good day, guys. This is a video on how we can explore time series data. Kanta told us to go and find some packages that we can use to explore time series data. I wanted him to give us the packages before I can make this video, but it looks like it's taking time, and I also need to make this video for you guys. I think he said we should get time T series, right? So T series is very important when you are to explore time series data. It's very important. So you can see over here, to install the packages for T-series, and forecast2 is very important for forecasting our data and everything. And also tidyverse, tidyverse, we need ggplot. Sometimes you need ggplot to do some data visualization and all that. So tidyverse comes with ggplot for you to use in visualizing your data. And I'm going to also import this file, which is readxl. I'm going to be importing an Excel data set, so I need this file so that it can aid me in importing my Excel data set. So if I get this package installed, it will help me in importing my Excel data sets very easy. Alright, so like I normally say, if you want to install, you can just press the install the packages here, then you put in these values and you install. But normally, because of beginners, I prefer you do it one after the other. So instead of just typing everything like this, so I prefer you remove all this stuff, remove everything in here, right? So remove everything in here, and then you only get to T series. So you are going to get for T series. After T series is downloaded, then you can proceed to also clean T series and put forecast in there, then you install. If you don't want to pass through this way too, there is a simple way you can also go. Come to tools here, install packages here. It will come, and this space provided is meant for you to type in the package that you want to install. And after you are done installing the package, you press install. So assume you want to install T series. I'll just press in T series. I'll just press in T series. Because I'm not having any network, because I have everything installed already. If you have network and you are typing, you see that there will be some pop-ups, like the names itself will be coming as you are typing. The name itself pops up. So when you are done, you press the install, and after everything on this your console here, some code will start to run. So when everything is installed successfully, you see that they will say packages successfully what installed. If you don't see that one, it means that one is not installed. Don't just press and it runs and that thing doesn't come and you think it's installed. So a better way of verifying whether the thing is installed is after you are done. After you are done, you try to call in the package. Alright, so when you are done, you try to bring in the package by using this library command. So I already have T series installed. So if you want to install, if you want to call in what tidyverse or T series, you do what library tidyverse. So if I do library tidyverse, and I'm going to execute it, so you can see that over here the tidyverse package has been called in, right? It's called in, right? So you can see that nothing happened. So if the thing is installed, this is how it's going to be over here. But if it is not installed, then that means that something here will tell you that this package is not available or something like that. It will tell you something like that. If I want to bring in T series to execute it, you can see that T series comes. You see, so it is from Zoo. T series, my version is 0.10, and they're saying this T series is a package for time series analysis and computational finance. You see what I'm trying to say? And let's also bring in our forecast. So we bring in our forecast, which is very good for forecasting data. Sometimes you want to predict GDP for next 5 years. You want to predict how do you call it, growth rate for the next 5 years. Forecast is very good for you to do that, and you can predict that one with forecast to it. I think the default confidence intervals is 80 and 95. So it will predict for you with the confidence interval of 80 and 95. And you already know what that means because you've been doing statistics in class, and you know how what goes into confidence intervals and everything. So I'm going to bring in this my data, which is the readxl, to help me do this. So after I'm done, I have a data set downloaded. This is I think GDP of, I don't know, United States. So I'm going to call in this data. So you know how to call in the data. So you just do read.xl. The GDP here is just a name I want to give to this entire data set. So it's like I want to give it a name. So I want to name it what? GDP. So in naming it, this less than or minus, just like equal to sign in how do you call it, in R. This is how R sees it. So the less than or minus is an equal to sign like that in R, because R we don't use equal to, we use this sign if we want to name things and all that. So when I'm done, I'll execute that one too. You can see that it has been called in. So I want to view my data. So if I want to view my data, I use the view command. Now do view GDP. And you can see over here we have the time. I think the GDP of what was computed, and then the corresponding GDP. So we have the time and the corresponding GDP. So let's assume that we want to make analysis, or want to analyze with the GDP. We don't want the time to be inside there. So you have something like you're going to get something like I want to give it a name because I want to. So let me just say GDP1, right? Because already I have GDP here, so let me just say GDP1. Alright, so over here I'll just bring in my GDP. That is the data that I want to select. So GDP is here, select it, and the dollar sign is used to select a particular column. So I want to select the GDP column, right? So I select this GDP column. It's used to select the GDP column. So after I'm done, I can then view again the GDP1, not GDP rather. I'm viewing the GDP1. So you have the GDP1. And you can see over here, it is not giving you data on only what? The GDP data. I get what I'm trying to say. So you can see this data is like this. But normally you can see that some data sets comes and you don't know the type of data. Sometimes we have data frames, we have time series data and all that. So you can try to look at the data. Is this the data really a time series data? Because if it's not a time series data and you are doing time series analysis, it means you cannot get what you want. So sometimes we have to convert the data to a time series data. That is if the data is not a time series data. So you can check the class to see if the data is a time series data. So to check that one, we have a command that we call class. So we have class here. We're going to check. Now we're going to focus on only the GDP one and leave the time. So that is the GDP. Because we want to analyze only the GDP and forget of the time. Okay. So I have GDP one, and it's telling me that this is a numeric though. But let's check the GDP itself. So we have the class, and we have GDP. So this is like a data frame, right? You can see this is a data frame. So this entire data is a data frame. So one thing we can normally do, which is this, is to try and convert the data to a time series data. That at least will help. So let me say convert data to time series data. I'm just going to add a comment. So to add comment, the hashtag sign is used for adding comments. So I can do something like this. So convert to time series. So the TS is just time series. So I'll leave it like this. So now I can decide to convert this data to time series. So I can give it a name. Let me just say GDP3, right? You can name it, give it a name that you prefer. So I can do it like this, and I'll bring this TS. This TS means I'm going to convert it to time series. So I will just need to put in the data that I wanted to convert to time series. So let me try this GDP1. Let's see whether it will work for us. All right. It has been converted to time series. So I now have something like GDP3. So I can say head GDP3. So to say head GDP3, it means that what? Just give me the first six rows. Head means give me the first 6 rows. Sorry, I made a mistake here. You can see that they're saying an error in head GDP. Instead of me writing how do you call it, GDP. I wrote what GPD. You can see that it will not give me anything. And I can say this is my first 6 observations. See, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. By default, it will only give you 6. But if you want, let me just say 10 or 20, you want to look at the first 10 observations or first 20 observations, what you need to do is just to add comma and add the number that you want to see. So I wanted to see like 10, and I'll just say 10, and it's now going to give me 10 observations that I really need. But if you leave it like head GDP3, by default it will give you only 6. It will give you only what, 6 rows. So normally what we try to do with our data is to check if the data is what normally distributed, something like that. So in analyzing data, normally we try to look at whether the data is having outliers or is not having outliers. And one way we can do that is normally you use histogram or what, box plot. These are very key visualization tools that you can use to detect whether a data has, how do you call it, outliers or is normally distributed. So to check that thing, like I said, I'll be using the GDP. Let's just say histogram, right? I'm just going to do a histogram. Okay, let's make a histogram plot. So then we have what, GDP3. We are using the GDP3 because that is now our time series data, and you can see that this is better. You can see the histogram is better. It is not skewed like that. We can also try again with the box plot to see how it's going to look like. Okay, the box plot is here, so let's just click on the box plot, and we need to plot GDP3. Very important. So GDP3, and look at our data. You can see that we don't have any outliers in this data, you see. So we can go ahead and visualize our time series to see how it's going to be. You can go ahead and visualize our time series data. So let me add a comment here. Let me add a comment. You have to be following what I'm doing. So from here, you have to go and get the packages downloaded for the classes that we be doing. So you have to get the packages downloaded. If counter comes and if doc comes and it's like add this and that, or if it comes and gives you a different one, then you know how to even download it. It doesn't mean that this is what we're going to be using. Maybe he has others that we don't know, you see. So if it comes and then he adds certain packages that we need, you just have to follow the same procedure, then you download the same stuff. So I'm going to plot time series data. Normally the plot command in how do you call it, in R or even Python or where, means that what, line plot. So if you do plot, it means a line plot. And you know, time series data is like a line that you normally plot it like that. So to plot this data, we can say plot because we want to see the trend. So I want to see that line plot and something. So I can say GD plot this. You can see that this data is a bit, you can see from what we learned yesterday. You can see this data you can even see it from the picture that it is not going to be stationary, because doctor said that if the data is stationary, you can see that there is a constant mean. There is always a constant mean. You see that the data kind of hovers around something like this, the middle, and you can always, if you are going to get the average, you can plot a mean, a line through it. But this one is not like that. So you can see that it is like this. It is upward sloping and it is trending like that. You can see from this that this is not going to be a what, a stationary data. So we can test it. We can test it to see whether this data is stationary. And normally we use what we call the add Fuller test, which is the augmented decay Fuller test, to test whether our data is stationary. So to test that one, we have something we call add Fuller that we can use to test our data. What we call add. So this is the ADF test. Alright, ADF test. Okay, then let's put in our GDP3 to see something. Now this is our ADF step. So we can see some values in here.